Hey everybody, this is Eric the Red for Red Viking Gaming, and tonight we're having our very first Sunday night War Council. And what that means is basically a weekly vlog where we go in depth or, touch on different events happening in the gaming industry. Whether that is new console information as far as the next gen, game releases, paraphernalia, events, accessories, just about anything that can happen in the gaming industry that is of note. We're going to try and do these little war councils and episodes and kind of just give our input, give you guys the information and facts that we know, and move on from there. So seeing as Sony just did their unveiling of the PlayStation 5 with its new design, they gave us a lot more information as far as to the specs, and they even went as far as to basically outline a number of games that are going to be available on PlayStation 5, exclusives and non-exclusives alike. We're going to be touching base on that. So that's going to be the focus of this Sunday Night War Council, our very first. And we're going to talk about the specs that the PlayStation 5 is going to have. We're going to talk about things like backward compatibility. We're going to talk about ray tracing. And we're going to talk about all the different paraphernalia, accessories, and games that we are very interested in getting our hands on. So yeah, we're going to start there. First things first, let's talk about the specs. With every new generation of consoles, you're looking at some major upgrades in terms of internal hardware and capabilities. PS5 follows this trend, drastically outperforming its most recent predecessor in the PS4 Pro. The PS5 boasts an 8-core Zen 2 CPU that can run at up to 3.5 GHz frequency, demolishing the PS4 Pro's 8-core AMD Jaguar's capabilities, as well as a GPU capable of delivering up to 10.28 teraflops of power, running 36 compute units at up to 2.23 GHz. That's ridiculous in comparison to the PS4 Pro's 4.2 teraflops of power. It's taken one step further when it comes to memory. PlayStation 5 has 16 GB RAM, whereas the PlayStation 4 only had 8. Couple this with its 448 GB per second bandwidth, and you've got optimum data and file transfer. The PlayStation 5 also comes equipped with a custom 825 GB solid-state drive as opposed to the PlayStation 4's 1TB hard drive. PlayStation 5 also sports an impressive I/O configuration as well as expandable storage options with an NVMe solid-state drive slot. These things are very impressive. As with the previous iteration, the console does support USB hard drives for external storage. The standard PlayStation 5 will come equipped with a 4K ultra high definition Blu-ray drive, and this is where it gets interesting. There are going to be two versions of the system for purchase. One is a completely digital platform and will eliminate this drive, as can be seen in this accompanying photograph. While a price point has not been finalized just yet, and numbers are still being speculated, the removal of the optical drive would likely make the purely digital version cheaper at purchase. Taking into account the hardware it comes equipped with, PlayStation 5 will support 8K resolution as well as ray tracing. Now, what's ray tracing, you might be asking? Ray tracing is a rendering technique that aims to simulate the way that light reflects and bounces off of different surfaces, giving a more dynamic sense of shadows, lighting, and ambience to the in-game world. Utilizing ray tracing, you'll be able to be more immersed in the world that you're playing in. Realistic shadows, lighting, and ambiance will be added to the experience, creating that realistic feeling and really solidifying the immersion. So ray tracing is a huge step up considering processing power for previous generations weren't able to handle that extent of calculations in a real-time rendering format. That's why ray tracing is so important, and that's why it's a huge, huge advantage for the PlayStation to be able to handle ray tracing in its games. Aside from what the PlayStation 5 brings to the table on its own, Sony also unveiled a number of accessories and paraphernalia to go along with the new system. This comes in the form of a docking station for charging your controllers, as well as a new HD camera that will likely replace the already in use PlayStation 4 cameras, and the new wireless headset. There are no price points on these yet either, as everything with these new next-gen consoles is still kind of being tossed around financially. But as we learn more, we'll get more in depth into those things and those items, as well as their prices. But for now, we're going to be moving on to the games that they also announced and unveiled during the Sony release. We can't touch on all of them because we just don't have the time. They they unveiled about 20 different games, give or takes. Most of them were exclusives, some of them were not, such as NBA 2K21, and Resident Evil 8 The Village, which I'm very, very excited for. But we're going to touch on a number of them and kind of just give you a quick little perspective on how we see the game coming, what to look forward to, and whether or not we'll be getting our hands on a copy of those games and getting some content out to you guys moving forward. So without further ado, let's hop into the games. Start things off, Sony unveiled the new Spider-Man experience in the form of Miles Morales. The trailer depicts Miles in his trademark black and red suit, saving lives and doing what Spider-Men do. The announcement sparked a debate over whether or not this would be a sequel or an expansion to the 2018 release, to which Sony clarified that it is a bit of both. Spider-Man Miles Morales will function as a separate adventure within the game while improving the base game with engine enhancements suited for the PlayStation 5. Now, on that note, it's still being discussed whether, or better yet, how that will affect PlayStation 4 players. Seeing as the engine enhancements are meant for the PlayStation 5, how will people who buy, or if it's even possible to buy, the technical expansion, Miles Morales, for their game on PlayStation 4, whether or not that will implement some other gameplay mechanics or enhance things with the PlayStation 4 console. So basically consider it a full, albeit short, standalone experience within the game, focusing on Miles and the tights. Next up, speeding down the track, is Gran Turismo, making a triumphant return to the scene with their new release or new unveiling of Gran Turismo 7. Alright, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. If you love cars, racing, and tuning in a hyper-realistic, and I mean hyper-realistic, there are so many menus you can go very, very in-depth. Just every aspect of your car in a hyper-realistic simulation. This is going to be a game for you. I've played the Gran Turismo series in the past, fell off a little bit here and there, but it is intense. I've always wanted to know more about cars and learn, and honestly, this game can probably teach you and teach me the ropes. This is going to be some beautiful, epic racing. You're going to hop all around the world, completely global tracks, every country, every continent. If you can build the car and you can race it on that track, you can do it in this game. And it is essentially just, you're going to take to any track across the globe, sporting any vehicle that you've kitted to perfection, that you've put the time and effort into, and then prove that you own that track. Because this game it's going to be a monumental achievement for racing games. Little Devil Inside kind of came in under the radar, but honestly caught my glance immediately, partly due to the fact that it has a very unique style and charm to it. Looking at the trailer, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. While the plot is a little bit of a mystery, the gameplay seems to play out as an action-adventure RPG, where you'll slay all sorts of beasties and monsters before returning home to your trusty butler with the carcasses, all the goods. You'll be using an assortment of weaponry, swords, guns, bombs, multiple things to dispatch your foes, and as you explore this mysterious world. Definitely keeping an eye on this one. As more info develops, we'll update and kind of give you guys that over time. There's not too much known on this just yet. I love the trailer. I love the art style. It seems like it'll be a fun a fun game to play. This next one up hits me right in the nostalgia, because I have been a huge fan of the series for most of my life. So Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart it's just glorious to see Ratchet and Clank back on the scene. Two of our favorite protagonists retake center stage. Hailed as an extraordinary, hilarious, and all around just an inventive and quirky platformer series, the newest installation is bound to be quite an experience in itself. This time around, dimensions seem to be colliding, or possibly tearing, or some combination of the two, but there's a lot going on, and Ratchet and Clank are both being tossed back and forth through all these different wormholes and rifts. I'm gonna go with rifts, seeing as Rift Apart, but generally speaking, the trailer kind of has a lot going on. Different worlds, different times, different eras, different locales, enemies, friends, animals, biomes, the whole nine. The one thing that you might have noticed in the trailer that you typically see with Ratchet and Clank games that you didn't see so much of in the trailer is all the crazy and ingenious weaponry that you're undoubtedly going to have at your disposal. Alright, but cool little twist here that you see at the end of the trailer, it shows basically what is almost undoubtedly and very likely the alternate reality female version of Ratchet, which begs the question of whether or not we'll be able to play as both versions of Ratchet, whether or not they'll interact. I mean, I imagine they're going to have to interact through the story mode, through the plot, but also like whether or not they have different abilities and skills, or any other differences aside from the obvious aesthetic aspect, right? Beyond that, it begs the question that, more importantly, is there an alternate Clank? Because I'm curious. I would really love to see an alternate Clank. But as always, expect tons of weapons and gadgets, even if they're not in the trailer. It's a staple for the series, and you're gonna have an absolute over-the-top action blast when it comes to Ratchet and Clank. So this is definitely on our radar, and we'll definitely be getting a copy of that. Speaking of nostalgia, and going back to one of the earliest games that I ever played, and it pushed my brain as a child to the limits, as well as a little bit of the gore content. Oddworld Soulstorm. Oh my god, so happy, so very happy. But Oddworld Soulstorm puts us back in control of Abe, our favorite mute psionic from the original Oddworld games. All right, and it's basically going to be up to us to lead our people to salvation. It's a 2D adventure platformer. You use your powers and your wits to solve puzzles, avoid dangers, prevent your fellows from dying horrible deaths akin to kind of like lemmings. They just kind of follow you around and listen to what you tell them to do. So if you're not paying attention, all types of just meat slaughter, terrible traps, guns, as you try and basically escape and free your people. It's a classic game. It's being revisited, remade, and basically it's one that I will certainly have a place in my heart and my collection for as soon as it hits stores. So definitely give it a shot if you haven't played any of the Oddworld games. They're all a little bit of a hoot. There's a certain dark humor to it, as well as the obvious political and social connotations that you can draw from a game where you're rebelling against an oppressor. So, on that note, moving on. Horizon Forbidden West is the direct sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. Both games are set in a post-apocalyptic world where new life has come in the form of machine-animal hybrids. Machinery has basically taken over every aspect, so like mechanical dinosaurs, other animals, fauna, and basically you return to the role of Aloy, who is the main protagonist from the original game, and she is traveling westward due to an impending catastrophe that is going to basically destroy the rest of humanity, right? That's the setup for the plot. The game itself, there isn't too much more. They didn't really hint on what the actual catastrophe is. In the trailer, you see a lot of like glowing purple and red lights, and a lot of different like fireworks spectacles here and there, light works and shows, but with just beautiful scenery, imagery, the platforming. If it's anything like the original game, as far as the gameplay mechanics, this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful game. You're gonna blast playing it. It's action adventure RPG platforming. You get a little bit of all worlds in a very unique concept, with the whole biome and the setup for the game. So I'm really excited to see how they went one step further. In the trailer for Forbidden West, you can see that there are other humans that are taming mechanical mammoths, for lack of a better term. I wonder what they'll be called in the game, but it's gonna be pretty epic. Again, this is another exclusive, and I'm excited to get my hands on a copy and dive right in, get a couple playthroughs going. Next up, we got a fan favorite. We got Hitman 3, which promises to be a dramatic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy, as we once again fill the shoes of Agent 47, our very favorite Hitman for hire. This time in, it seems like with the same support from your agency handler, Diana Burnwood, you're going to be linking up and reuniting with your long-lost friend Lucas Gray. All right? The premise here is that you're trying to eliminate the Partners of Providence. That's their title. They're going to be the big bads as far as this goes. The newest iteration will have us assassinating targets basically all around the world. In the extremely detailed and meticulously crafted locations that we've come to love from the series. You can kill people and assassinate people just about any which way. The disguises, it's so extensively elaborate how meticulous they are in setting up this essential sandbox of assassination that they allow you to drop into and complete your tasks and missions. So seeing and looking at the trailer and knowing the previous iterations of the game and how well they've gone about doing that, for them to come out and say and promise that they're going to basically this is going to cap all of that in this trilogy. This is going to make it, right? That makes me very excited because I've been a big fan of the series for a very long time. Way back when, playing the originals back in the day, and seeing it now, it's going to be great. You're going to play your way as always, and just know that death awaits. I'm loving that catch line, that tagline. Death awaits. Because it's true. One way or another, as Agent 47, something's going to happen. Next up on the chopping block is Destruction AllStars, which is a game that I've sought after for many, many years now. It's basically the love child between two of my favorite games ever, Rocket League and Twisted Metal. Rocket League being rocket cars playing soccer, very stylized, high octane. And then you look at Twisted Metal, which was essentially the original Battle Royale, where you're just driving around different cars, shooting rockets at each other and trying to blow up everyone except yourself. AllStars takes this combination and places it in the form of a demolition derby, and takes that to a whole new and exciting extreme. Packed with style and oozing with bravado, you take to the track and destroy your opponents any which way you can. Your car gets trashed? No problem. Get to another one. Trailer, and one of the fun aspects I saw in the trailer that I'm excited to see play out, is that there are portions and segments where your character is actually traversing on foot and barely avoiding the destruction and chaos that's still surrounding them. So I imagine that there's going to be an aspect to this game where if your car gets destroyed, or like if you eject from your car in time, or you can just full on leave whenever you want maybe to get a better vehicle. Maybe there's some drops in the arena. But basically, I would love to see that dynamic play out, because it's got to be absolute sheer chaos. You've got all these cars, these giant SUVs, trucks, cars with all these weapons, slicers, power-ups, boosters flying around you, and you're walking around with your astronaut helmet that has a cat face on it, just doing like the moonwalk, jumping over people. It seems like a really, really fun and exciting take on this kind of style of game, and I can't wait to see it further developed, and I can't wait till it's released because I'm gonna be playing this nonstop. I gotta be honest. Another big one on the list has been getting a lot of promo out there recently. I've been seeing it everywhere since they announced it. Godfall asks the question, what if I just slash my way through all of them? While the formula isn't exactly new, you know, the last saviors must save the world from impending doom. Their implementation seems to be right on the money. All right, so it's a hack and slash co-op looter with an intense sense of style, action, and a somewhat Souls-like combat system. All right, Godfall promises to be a very fun and exciting dynamic to the genre. They delve heavily into the fantasy aspect. Plot-wise, you are one of the last of a exalted order of knights. The world is separated into segments of elements, so like there's a fire element, water element, and you basically are searching to prevent the demise of this entire world, right? On top of that, they promise that there's going to be a very, not necessarily complex, but there's a certain complexity to the character development with what abilities and weapons, items that you can use, the customization aspect of it, that will add a certain level of replayability and just overall, the same way like Destiny and Destiny 2, the loot shooters and all that, but really honed down to melee combat in high octane hack and slash formats. So it looks a lot of fun. The trailers are beautiful. Watching the actual gameplay trailer was a good time, and you know that's saying something considering nobody heard about this until just recently, and it seems like it's already fairly polished. Definitely gonna get my hands on that. Keep an eye out for Godfall. Deathloop. So Deathloop is the next big game for one of my favorite studios, and it resonates their specific style and type of gameplay. So Arcane Studios, the people who brought you Dishonored and Prey, the more recent iteration of Prey, are back at it in this adventurous take on a first-person shooter, where you've got to use your skills and abilities to not only survive, but to kill your targets and piece together an escape plan. Because the whole premise is that you are stuck on this, they framed it kind of as like a resort island for everybody else, but the whole premise of the resort island is everyone is out there to kill you, and you just want to escape, but you're stuck in a time loop. So as the name suggests, every time you die, you'll wake right back up. But the whole premise is that every time you die, or at least the goal is, every time you die, hopefully you're uncovering more pieces of how to put together an escape plan and how to get away. Now, to top that off, while death is just a brief respite, you're continuously also being tracked by another assassin trying to kill you. So you can't just hunker down necessarily. You've got to be actively progressing and killing, and then there's a huge stylized aspect of it too, akin to the powers in Dishonored. So like you can warp certain distances, you have throwing powers and different forms of abilities that they didn't really go fully in depth in the trailer, but I would love to see that really fleshed out. And this other assassin, I remember when they first announced Deathloop way back, there were talks that it might have been not necessarily co-op, but that the other assassin would be player controlled. There'd be a certain multiplayer aspect to this that they might tune in, which opens up a lot of different options, because what if the entire gameplay is just multiplayer and there's always another player online trying to do the same things as you, but just hunting you? You know what I mean? So it's a fun thought. It'd be cool if you segment players to an extent like that, but we'll have to keep our eyes and ears open and see what happens. last but not least, Demon Souls. That's it. That's all I have to say, and you should be paying attention and just immensely intrigued. Demon Souls. It's finally coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally getting Demon Souls, and it's not in the form of a remaster, but a full-on remake. Oh, top to bottom, next-gen, high-res beauty. This game created a genre. If it's Souls-like, this is the game. It's because Demon Souls crushed an entire generation's ego. You get Dark Souls. The whole Dark Souls series is because of Demon Souls. Oh my god. Beautiful environments. Deep, expansive lore. The plot. Tried and true combat mechanics and gameplay. It's the hurt you know you love. And I can't be more excited to play Demon Souls again and to get... I already have stream time scheduled way off in the distance as soon as this game hits the market, because not only reliving the original, but the fact that it's a remake, so from top to bottom they re-gutted the whole thing. I'm sure there's gonna be more and better, and I'm so giddy. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm giddy on this end of the mic because of this game. And definitely get this into your repertoire, and if you can't handle it, get good. Of all the games that Sony unveiled, there are a number more than we've covered on this list so far, but these are the ones that we genuinely are interested in and wanted to look further into. But of all of the games that they unveiled during their conference, there were a couple that were very, very early in development, very mysterious, and there's like little to no information, and even just based on the announcement trailers, it was what is going on. There's no other way to kind of put that. But of these three games, of multiple of these games, we picked out three that we're particularly interested in keeping an eye on, and we think that you should too. All right, and here they go. First off, Project Athia, or Athia. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but Project Athia is a Square Enix title, and there's no information. It's beautiful. You basically get a couple of these stop frame images where text comes across the screen, and it's saying, in a world that's not her own, she'll have to do this. She'll have to fight, and it cuts in and out of cinematics and what looks like also gameplay, where you're controlling a woman who has some form of supernatural powers, is able to dash across mountaintops, and other abilities. She summons, she entombs what looks like a chaos wolf out of nowhere just from vines in the ground. It looks really cool, and I don't know enough about it, and there isn't a lot out there. It's a working title. I imagine they've got this really close to their chest, but if Square Enix is anything to stand on, I know that they make beautiful games. And I've been saying beautiful a lot today, but oh my god, it looks so crisp and clear that I'm hoping that they can maintain that over the course of the production of the game, and that we can see that translated into the gameplay. And with the PlayStation 5's new specs and upgrades, it might very well be something that's possible, because with the ray tracing and everything, the lighting and the dynamics, there's a lot to play with here, and I'm very excited. So I'm going to be keeping my ears to the ground for Project Athia. And any updates moving forward. So you guys will be hearing me talk about that for a while to come. Another one directly out of left field, completely mind-effed me. I'm not sure if I should be censoring these. Pragmata, okay? So you're looking at the trailer, and you're basically seeing what looks like the combination of an astronaut and Sam from Death Stranding. And I'm going to say Death Stranding a lot during this explanation because it's just as over the top what the fuck's going on as Death Stranding is in its trailers and its promotions. So there's no guidance here. There's no information. Pragmata. It turns out you think you're in Times Square. Suddenly a satellite comes crashing through what looks like a digital dome. This, what I have to assume is an android little girl who has a robotic cat, is just there, and then she reaches into your, like, connects to your back pocket pouch and creates a impact resistant web of thorns that you throw at this satellite that's breaking through the dome. And suddenly, due to, you know, the loss of oxygen, well, the airflow being pulled out into the void, you're getting tossed into the void space. Now we're on the moon looking down at the earth, and that's freedom, is what he says. That's our freedom down there. And it's just, it is mind numbing, and there's so many things that are going on, and it's so vague, and in a good way. I'm piqued. My interest is piqued. I'm excited to see where the sense, how it's all going to come together. But again, looking at a couple of the key features, you're in a suit on the moon. This little girl, completely no suit. She's got to be some form of alien or an android. She's breathing fine, no issues. Just standing on the moon, completely cool. You're still in like a heavy-duty astronaut suit. She's just standing there in what looks like a blue dress. You know, the norm. Bioorganic cat, android menace monster. I don't really know, but it's gonna be something. I'm very curious. If nothing else, it looks really cool, despite how absurd everything that was happening was, if that makes sense. So definitely keep your ears peeled. I'll keep my eyes peeled. There we go. And yeah, next on the list. So the final game on our list that we're going to talk about today for our War Council is a game called Returnal. All right, and I saved this one for last for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it is very similar to Deathloop in the concept that it has a death and rebirth kind of cycle to it. From what we can see in the trailer, you are a spacefaring person. You could be an astronaut, you could be some form of space adventurer. It's not fully descript, but you know, you're in a ship, and your ship crashes on this planet, and every time you die, you are basically reborn. You wake up again at the start of that day, just kind of repeating the process as you die over and over and over again. It's very cyclical. Now, the cool part about this that makes me very curious to see how they went about, or how they're going to go about doing this, is that it hints in the trailer that every time she dies, not only does she lose her sanity to an extent, like she's slowly starting to lose her mental wits, but it also hints that the environment, the planet itself, is adapting slowly but surely, changing little things each time she dies, which makes me think and ponder whether or not perhaps the developers have implemented some form of AI or design that might alter the entire environment of the game based on your actions. Like, not so much like your choices, like in a Mass Effect game, affect the end result, but on a real-time level where the way that you play, your playstyle, might directly affect how the AI reacts and responds to your decisions. You know, a number of games have tried to do this and implement this in the past, but now with the specs that we've got from PlayStation 5 and the next-gen consoles, maybe it's something that we can get done. Maybe it's something that can really take advantage of that aspect. Beyond that, the plot is, again, very murky. It's why it's on our mystery side of this list. There's no real in-depth explanation. You know, they had some cool gameplay mixed in with the cinematic footage where she was using like what looked like a pulse rifle to shoot at these unknown enemies, and it looks really cool. It looks pretty polished for where it's at. I'm curious when it's going to be released, but I love the concept. I love the mystery and the not knowing of whether or not what they're hinting at with her own words in the cinematic trailer are going to actually come true in the game. Because you can have your character say, I feel like I'm losing my mind, but if your character is legitimately losing their mind in the game, similar to Senua's Sacrifice, that would be cool to see on a grander scale, and to see the actual planet and the environment and the AI directly react to how you are playing the game. So there's that. And that is on our list, and I'll be keeping a very close eye on that. And that's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed our little critiques here and there. We didn't go too fully in depth into any specific game or technical aspect. If you guys have any questions or want us to dig further into anything, let us know. Moving forward on a weekly basis, we're going to be having these posted usually around the 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. range, but you know, today's is going to be coming out a little late. That being said, what we want to do moving forward is any questions, comments, or concerns that are brought to us over the course of the week, we'll spend the first portion of the next video answering and addressing those questions and comments and concerns. So from everyone here at Red Viking Gaming, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give us a like, subscribe, check out our other social media. RedVikingGaming.com is where you can find all of our handles. And until next time, Eric the Red for Red Viking Gaming, signing off.